Hey everybody, this week I want to talk about a question that I got this week from one of my students. And the question was, what is the most interesting project that you have ever worked on within the sports industry? And I would have to say unequivocally, it is working on the first version of the NBA 2K's pricing of corporate partnerships within a video game, right? So NBA 2K, for those of you that don't know, is the esports version of the NBA, right? It's different teams of esports players playing as a basketball team on behalf of the NBA 2K. And this absolutely blew my mind the first time this came across my desk because it was pricing assets within a video game, right? So it's very similar. It's on-court signage, digital, it's all of those different aspects and assets all together. And so I think the thing that I really loved about this was just like how challenging and complex it really was to figure some of this out, right? So what kind of KPIs? We had to figure out what were the different types of KPIs that really mattered. Was it impressions? Was it engagements? Was it time on screen? There was a whole new world of KPIs to consider. How do you go about changing the valuation or pricing for something, whether or not it's being consumed live when it's actually happening, or whether or not it's being rewatched down the road, either as a highlight reel or on a rewatch channel. For that matter, different types of channels, whether or not it was on Twitch or whether or not it was on YouTube or social media or some other channel, all of those come with their own unique differences and capabilities. And so the valuation potentially changes depending on the different type of channel that you're on. Beyond that, it's demographics. How do you price for an 18 through 25-year-old versus a 35 plus? Who are the typical demographics that are consuming this type of content? Is it going to be more traditional NBA fans? Is it going to be traditional esports fans? All of these things were complete unknowns. And, beyond that, talking about geography, it was also trying to figure out, is the NBA 2K going to be global, national, or local as it related to its partnerships, right? So as you can imagine, if you're a local pizza shop, you probably don't really care about getting in front of a global audience. You want to be much more local focused. However, what a great opportunity for global brands to have a very, very high reach. So one of the other things we had to figure out is whether or not we were going to sort of have this esports principle where everything is global and there's really no such thing as a local team because people from all over the world can be consuming. Or is it more of a traditional NBA model and principle, which is we have local fandoms and local teams with a little bit of a global presence? And so a lot of unknowns around trying to figure out, well, what were the actual sponsorships that we're going to be buying into this model? What did those look like? Were they local, national, or global, right? And that completely changes the game because how you go about pricing someone who's in China versus somebody who's in the United States is completely different depending on who that partnership is. And so this really only scratches the surface of some of the different types of questions that we had to ask ourselves and figure out. And I think that's ultimately what I really loved about it, was just how complex something like this is, as well as just the evolution of partnerships and how we're seeing that evolve over time. 10 years ago, something like this with having partnerships within a video game, most people probably would have laughed about it and never thought it was possible. So I just wanted to share that with everybody this week and looking forward to more stories coming next week. So thanks, and chat with you guys then.